A reading from the book of Exodus. Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. Leading the flock across the desert, he came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There, an angel of the Lord appeared to Moses in fire, flaming out of a bush. As he looked on, he was surprised to see that the bush, though on fire, was not consumed. So Moses decided, I must go over to look at this remarkable sight and see why the bush is not burned. When the Lord saw him coming over to look at it more closely, God called out to him from the bush, Moses, Moses. He answered, Here I am. God said, Come no nearer. Remove the sandals from your feet, for the place where you stand is holy ground. I am the God of your fathers, he continued, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. But the Lord said, I have witnessed the affliction of my people in Egypt, and have heard their cry of complaint against their slave drivers, so I know well what they are suffering. Therefore I have come down to rescue them from the hands of the Egyptians, and lead them out to that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey. Moses said to God, But when I go to the Israelites and say to them, The God of your fathers has sent me to you, if they ask me, What is his name? What am I to tell them? God replied, I am who am. Then he added, This is what you shall tell the Israelites. I am sent me to you. The word of the Lord.
The Lord is kind and merciful. The Lord is kind and merciful. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all my being, bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. The Lord is kind and merciful. He pardons all your iniquities. He heals all your ills. He redeems your life from destruction. He crowns you with kindness and compassion. The Lord is kind and merciful. The Lord secures justice and the rights of all the oppressed. He has made known his ways to Moses, and his deeds to the children of Israel. The Lord is kind and merciful. Merciful and gracious is the Lord, slow to anger and abounding in kindness. For as the heavens are high above the earth, so surpassing is his kindness towards those who fear him. The Lord is kind and merciful.
The second reading, a reading from the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. I do not want you to be unaware, brothers and sisters, that our ancestors were all under the cloud, and all of them passed through the sea, and all of them were baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea. All ate the same spiritual food, and all drank the same spiritual drink. For they drank from a spiritual rock that followed them, and the rock was the Christ. Yet God was not pleased with most of them, for they were struck down in the desert. These things happened as an example for us, so that we might not desire evil things as they did. Do not grumble as some of them did, and suffer death by the destroyer. These things happened to them as an example, and they have been written down as a warning to us, upon whom the end of the ages has come. Therefore, whoever thinks he is standing secure should take care not to fall. The word of the Lord.
The Lord be with you. And with your spirit. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Some people told Jesus about the Galileans, whose blood Pilate had mingled with the blood of their sacrifices. Jesus said to them in reply, "Do you think that because these Galileans suffered in this way, they were greater sinners than all other Galileans? By no means. But I tell you, if you do not repent, you will all perish as they did. Those 18 people who were killed when the Tower of Siloam fell on them, do you think they were more guilty than everyone else who lived in Jerusalem? By no means. But I tell you, if you do not repent, you will all perish as they did." And he told them this parable. There once was a person who had a fig tree planted in his orchard. And when he came in search of fruit on it, but found none, he said to the gardener, "For 3 years now I have come in search of fruit on this fig tree, but have found none. So cut it down. Why should it exhaust the soil?" He said to him in reply, "Sir, leave it for this year also, and I shall cultivate the ground around it and fertilize it. It may bear fruit in the future. If not, you can cut it down." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
This Gospel passage I find fairly appropriate to read on an election year. I will tell you, I hate politics. I hate politics. I hate it. People get too much of the other side is the enemy and our side is the truth and the love and the only way that people can be, otherwise they are the worst of people in the world. And it doesn't matter which side you're on, everybody seems to think that of their side and that of the other side. It pulls people apart. And one of the things that I notice happening all the time, right and left, enough that I honestly don't even want to watch the news, is that when something goes wrong on the other side of the fence, many people celebrate it. When something goes wrong for somebody who has the different political position of themselves, they celebrate it. Let me explain something. That is not Christian. That is not Christian. To celebrate the woes of others. I hear that screaming to me as Jesus talks to these people who, some people come to talk to him about, oh, those Galileans who had their blood mingled with their sacrifices. Whatever the world that means, Jesus clearly responds as if these people were happy and celebrating that those wretched people had something bad happen to them. A few weeks back, we had the reading from Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 12 and 13. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not rejoice in wrongdoing. Love does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. You know, it's worthwhile for us to really let the political year challenge us. How am I doing at loving people who have a different opinion than me? How am I doing at loving people who have a different opinion than me about how best to serve the poor? How am I doing at loving people who have a different opinion than me of how best to get rid of abortion? How am I doing at loving the people who have a different opinion than me about taxes? How am I doing at loving people I disagree with? Every time the news comes up and you see somebody of the opposite political opinion of yourself and something bad happens, I challenge you. Love that person in that moment. When that person has something bad happening to them, we should all be stopping and praying for them. Because regardless of who they are, they might be our political leaders, our government leaders, and they need our love, our support, and above all, our prayers. It's wonderful having that with the same, that's the first part of the gospel, but this second part of the gospel also kind of fits. The fig tree that didn't produce fruit. It's a worthwhile question to ask in Lent. What fruit does my speech produce? When I talk to other people about what I believe in politics or in faith, what fruit am I producing? Do I produce anger in other people? Do I produce a distance between me and them? Or do I draw people towards love, towards the truth, towards God? What fruit do I produce? Can I name it? Can I name a specific person I have drawn closer to Christ by my words, by my actions, by my life? Can I name the fruit of how I've changed somebody else's life? The truth be told, you don't know how you're affecting everybody's life. But the truth be told as well, you should be able to name at least one person whose life you've affected in a positive way. If you can't, I've got good news for you. You're not dead yet. That's the good news. Sir, leave it for this year also. I shall cultivate the ground around it and fertilize it. It may bear fruit in the future. If you have not borne fruit yet, Christ has not given up on you. May we let this Lent be a time we grow in love of God, in love of others, in love of ourselves the way God desires us to. And in all of this, may we draw the world closer to Christ.